Hi, folks. I'm Father Joe Grimaldi. You can call me Joe, and I'd like to welcome you to my podcast. But now, here's our host and friend, Ken Calvert.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ken Calvert.
This is Joe Grimaldi.
And thank you for joining us on the Father Joe podcast.
No, cut that out, would you?
No. I'm not going to do that. I was swallowing. Usually I'm so ready to just...
I made you choke.
Yeah, that's right. We were laughing, as always, before we got started here.
Okay.
Although we're going to talk about something rather serious today on the Father Joe podcast. And thanks again for joining us. We're doing very, very nicely, by the way, in terms of a lot of people fascinated by the 12 days of Christmas.
Well, it's in the air.
Isn't that, well, I don't know where you are, but if you are somewhere down south in Florida or as far away as Honolulu, I can't even say it, I'm so cold today. We're not even at 20 degrees, I don't think.
No.
We didn't have any fall here, folks. We went from summer to winter.
Winter with a capital W, I'd say.
If Joe and I had any money, we'd be doing this show right now from somewhere in West Palm Beach, Florida. but we don't. So
we don't. We're here.
We're a couple of working stiffs. All is well. Life is good.
So far, so good.
All righty. It was a big week this week. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, I don't want to say they were mandated to delay their voting on measures to hold bishops accountable for failing to protect children from sexual abuse, but the president of the conference said in a surprise announcement on Monday morning that they basically have been told to sort of table it, hold back. He wasn't very happy. I think it was Bishop DiNardo. Was not happy about it at all. The word schism came up in an article that I read, and words like although highly unlikely. And I started thinking, I do understand what a schism is. Would that ever be likely in the Catholic Church?
Well, a schism is always possible. I don't know about likely.
Yeah.
And, you go back to the big schism that comes to my mind around the year 1050 when the East and the West separated. And that's where you had the development of orthodoxy. So you have Catholic churches and Orthodox churches. Do they differ in any of their teachings? No. But are they separate? Yes. Why? Because the Orthodox churches do not recognize the Holy Father as the head of all the church. And so you have the Greek Catholics and the Greek Orthodox, the Syrian Catholics and the Orthodox Syrians. You have the Malabar Rite in India and the Catholic Rite, and so on. So you have all of these different rites. And the thing is this, that they separate by the word Orthodox. So the Orthodox Church is not the Catholic Church. They're the ones that are run by patriarchs. Mm-hmm. Instead of bishops, they call them patriarchs. They're the ones that, it's that stovepipe hat that they wear and so on and so forth. But the Great Schism, from the East to the West, you had Byzantium became the center for them, and then Rome remained as the center for the Western Church. What happened, too, was there were about 26 or so churches that joined the Orthodox. And after about 100 years, they did come back. And this is why you have the two names, the Syrian Catholics and the Syrian Orthodox. Because they were away for a whole 100 years, but then came back.
In the church's lifeline, though, 100 years
nothing,
is nothing, yeah.
But it's basically a matter of recognizing the Holy Father. For example, the Syrian Orthodox Church, they elect their own patriarch. But since they are Catholic, the Holy Father puts a stamp of approval. So he allows them to choose their head, but he is the one that says yes.
He sort of certifies the election?
He does.
That's a head scratcher.
Well, because he's still head of everything.
Uh-huh.
And so that this way it gives them a certain amount of independence, but by the same token, they do have allegiance to the Holy Father.
Okay.
Whereas the Orthodox groups do not have allegiance to the Holy Father.
Right.
And that's what separates them, because it's interesting that these churches believe in the same things.
Okay, the Orthodox churches still consider the Pope to be a very holy man.
Oh, no question.
Okay. A cut above, maybe?
Yeah, they respect him. There's no question.
If he was Orthodox, he would certainly be in consideration to be the patriarch.
Well,
I'm not trying to simplify it.
I realize,
but I'm serious
yes,
about that in a way.
Of course, yeah. But the thing is this, that they do respect him. They do honor him. As a matter of fact, we know that the popes, even Pope Francis, have met with the patriarchs of the churches and to see what they have in common and how they can build on what they have in common. But with human nature being what it is, there's a lot of resentment on the part of the individual people, the faithful. And so they weren't there when the split occurred, but you would think they were there, by the way. You go, for example, to Greece.
Right.
There's almost a hatred, that's a very strong word.
It is, yeah.
For Roman Catholic churches. And, because in Greece, there are not as many Roman Catholic churches as there are
Orthodox churches.
Orthodox churches.
I was in Greece back in 1993. It was fascinating. Yeah, I mean, we toured all the islands. It was a trip of a lifetime for me. Yeah. So it was wonderful. But you're right; those golden domes are everywhere.
But theologically, we're the same. It's the
still have the Eucharist.
Oh yes, definitely. We all have the same beginnings.
Right.
So we start with Christ, the apostles, and so on.
But that was the schism that happened back about 1050, you say?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So
now, what most people remember now is Bishop Lefebvre, or Lefebvre, as they would say, a French bishop who decided he wasn't going to go along with the Vatican II teachings. And so he decided that he wanted everything in Latin, and he wanted people to wear the cassocks and so on.
Yeah, Latin Mass and.
But the problem is this: the popes themselves have allowed Latin Masses, the Tridentine Masses, in the Roman Catholic Church. So you don't hear too much about Bishop Lefebvre's church anymore, even though it's separated. But you don't.
Does the Lefebvre playbook have in it like no meat on Friday? Did they kind of go back into the early, let's say, where we were in 1963?
No, but I guess what differentiates them, for example, in the old days, the priest would say the Mass with his back to the people.
That's right.
And so they still hold to that. They wear all those elaborate robes, and things of that sort. So they have, let's put it this way, they're not attracting as many as they thought they would, because the Latin Church does allow the Latin Mass.
Yeah.
The Roman Church allows the Latin Mass. So there's not much that they see different.
Evolution puts an end. That's in the rearview mirror for so many people. As you get older, you have no recollection. I do, but I'm in my 60s now. I remember when, as an altar boy, facing we faced the cross and the stained glass.
Exactly.
And when it all changed, I believe in the mid-60s, early 60s, and the first time that altar was, just basically it was indeed a table, you know what I mean? It was like, wow, now we're looking out at the parishioners. I mean, it was, but again, trying to put this all into the topic of schism. What is a schism? We know what a schism is, and the fact that it actually came up in some sort of a serious tone this past week, at least at some of the news agencies that were out there covering it. And it's something that I was curious about. You've prompted me now. Like a guy like DiNardo, does he just have to, Bishop DiNardo, does he just have to go grin and bear it, or can he push back a little bit? Can he get on a plane and go to Rome and say, can we talk? Explain this to me. Why was I asked to table what we were going to put forth in terms of abuse in the church?
I don't mind answering that, but by the same token, I think of it this way. The 13th of November was yesterday. This is the 14th.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is this, that we don't have all the facts. So I don't know if tabling it was the right word to use.
That's my expression.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's what was meant.
They're using the word delay.
Delayed. But then again, what does that mean?
Right.
So unless we get more information, it's only a day that's gone by. Now, Cardinal DiNardo is head of the Bishops' Conference. And so he's head of all the bishops in the United States when it comes to these meetings that happen twice a year. You said, can he get on a plane? I'm sure he's already there. I mean, I can't imagine him not being there.
Yeah.
Just to discuss what's going on. What do we mean by not doing it at this particular time? Is there an agenda for something more serious or different, or what are we to expect?
Right.
So he can certainly talk about it. There's no question. He's not going to sit there like a sheep and put his head down and not,
I suspect, though, that all of the bishops that were gathered at the conference came out of it disappointed.
Oh, I would imagine. I would think so.
Yeah. They have to go back to their diocese now and sort of have to once again explain this.
Yeah,
and
but I wish we knew.
Somebody said it was, let's put it this way, it was a really bad summer, and this could have really, really assisted people in the healing process. And it just kind of kept that stench out there, don't you think?
Yes.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
No, you're not putting me on the spot. The thing is this, I'm not sure what was exactly said.
I understand.
This is the difficulty. What we're gleaning.
Yeah, we're very fresh on the topic.
We're talking on this.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't have any facts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there may be a specific reason. There may be that it's not being delayed forever and ever. I can't imagine that Rome would say, well, that's not that important. No, it's very important. It's got to be uppermost in everybody's mind.
Right. It has to be.
I think we have to wait until we hear more on what the reasons were, on what was planned. We don't know what was planned even.
All right, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Go sideways here for a second. How did Cardinal DiNardo get to that position, being the head of the U.S. Conference
like many
of Catholic bishops?
Yeah, like many organizations, what happened is the president of the organization is elected,
Mm-hmm.
and usually for a term of 2 years, I would say.
Uh-huh.
And then the vice president takes over for the following 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So it's something that happens among, I don't know how many bishops we have in the United States. I would say about 300 or so.
Yeah, sure.
And so of the 300, they elect a president.
Right.
And they elect an assistant. Then they elect a treasurer and secretary and so on. So all of these positions are filled every 2 years.
Will Archbishop Vigneron get to you guys and discuss it? Will there be any sort of discussion about what came out of the conference?
He can. He probably will.
Yeah, he seems proactive.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know exactly what happened. We know that it did occur. We know that the word delay was used somewhere. What it means.
And we know that the bishops, and specifically Cardinal DiNardo, was not happy.
He was not happy with
Right.
it. Yeah. So whether or not something happens tomorrow,
Right.
we're really that fresh on that topic. So it's amazing.
Well, I know it's been a tough one to take on, but I wanted to take it on because, well, you know me, I just wanted to know a little bit more about a schism, and I'd known a little bit. We had talked on the separation of
The East and the West.
the East
yeah.
and the West, and the Orthodox.
And Lefevre's trying to bring back the old. It's interesting. Once he goes, it's not going to exist anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, so he's still alive and well.
Yeah, but I don't think anything's going to happen with.
Okay. Where's he located?
I'm sure somewhere in France, but
Yeah.
I'm. That's the wrong word. I'm not sure. I think somewhere in France.
Makes sense, doesn't it? With the name like Lefevre.
Lefebvre, yeah.
Lefebvre. You said one other thing that I wanted to go back to real quickly. You were talking back in the early part of our conversation about the separation East and West. Rome is to the Catholic as
Byzantium.
Is to the Orthodox?
Uh-huh.
Where is that?
We're speaking about the east part of the world.
Oh,
And
okay.
so it would be like Turkey and
Duh.
areas like that. Uh-huh.
Okay, well, I'm sorry once again.
I'm sorry
I'm
because
showing my ignorance, basically.
no, I'm showing mine too.
Well-
I didn't do enough research on that.
Well, we don't have to actually lean on that at all. I was just curious.
But the exact
Yeah.
because when we speak about the Orthodox, the one that comes to mind immediately is the Greek. We don't think about the Ukrainian Orthodox. We don't think about the Russian Orthodox. We don't think about the Greek and the Syrian and so
right,
on.
yeah.
But it's the one that comes to mind. So I think many of them depend on the Greek Orthodox Church.
Yeah.
So that kind of draws a lot of the others that
Sure.
are Orthodox.
Well, thank you. This was a very interesting topic, and I think we're going to get a lot of feedback on this.
We have about 3 minutes on that.
No. You always worry about the time.
I am.
No, we've got 18 minutes.
Oh, well, that's good. That's
No,
yeah.
18 minutes, and I'll tell you, but no, we're in fine shape. Father Joe Grimaldi. Somebody missed their Cheerios this morning, I'll tell you what. That's it for this go-around, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ken Calvert along with Father Joe Grimaldi, and we'll see you next time right here on the Father Joe Podcast.
I look forward to seeing you. Take care. Bye. This is Father Joe Grimaldi, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Father Joe Podcast.
If you'd like, you can email us. It's frjoepodcast@gmail.com. That's frjoepodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook. Simply search Father Joe Grimaldi. And thanks for listening, everyone.